The second round of the NBA draft was today, and that means it is finally complete. Their 59 lucky guys were able to be drafted and get to start their journey going into the NBA. And we're going to dive in and look at the second round picks here, at least most of them for the people that I do know, and going what I like for their pick for their respective team. Now, there were a lot of moves going on here, so I'm going to try to get each team correct. So if I do miss one of the teams or mess up one of them, I am sorry. But once again, we're going to dive in and look at these second round picks and look at how they fit in, going and giving some good or bad reactions to these selections. If you want to see my first round reactions, if you missed that video, go check that one out. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's explore the second round picks. So like I said, there was a lot of movement that happened in the second round today, lots of trades, and the first pick in the draft here at pick 31 was one acquired via a team that made multiple moves to get to that pick, and that was the Phoenix Suns, where at pick 31, they took Rasheer Fleming from St. Joe's, and a guy that was supposed to be, most people thought was going to be a first-round pick, a pretty solid 3-and-D guy, going to play at 6'9" with a 7'5" wingspan, just absolutely insane for a level of defender, and someone that the Phoenix Suns desperately needed because they lacked that athleticism, length, and size in hustle and defense last year. Now, obviously has a struggle to create his own shot, which is going to be a little bit difficult, but obviously playing alongside Devin Booker and being a little bit of a project piece, it's not like he's coming in and being an automatic starter for this team. He's obviously more a guy that's going to kind of develop, and for this team, looking to still be competitive with Devin Booker in a couple seasons, that is a solid key. But how to get up to 31, it took them a lot of moves. The Phoenix Suns obviously got 5 second-round picks from the Kevin Durant trade and already had 3 under roster. So they had 8 second-round picks and used those. They traded 2 future firsts to move up to pick 40 or to 36. Then they took their 2 seconds they had today and 52 and 59 originally and used those to trade up to 41, and then took 2 other future first rounder picks and attached them to 36 to move up to 31 to select at 31 and 41. So when we get to 41, we'll obviously discuss who they made at that selection. But at 31, Rasheer Fleming, someone that a lot of people viewed as a top 20 prospect, the Suns had him on their top 20 board. Getting him at 31 is such a key for this team. Now, at pick 32, the Boston Celtics did want Rasheer Fleming, and the Suns did leapfrog them. So in that case, Celtics decided to trade back, decided to move backwards in the draft, and the team that did move up was the Orlando Magic, and they gave up their picks 46 and 57 in this draft class, alongside 2 future draft picks to move up to pick 32 to select Noah Penda from France. He was a pick that a lot of people also thought could have been in the first round, and for the Magic, a team that loves these athletic defensive wings, he's just going to go right in there and just be someone that's going to kind of fit right in and be another developmental piece and a young project guy alongside people like Caleb Houston and Tristan Da Silva, but adding to that wing core alongside Jonathan Isaac, Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner is going to just add to their size and just make them a bigger threat. The Magic also didn't have roster spots to take on 2 second round picks. So similar to with their first round deal, trading away one of their first round picks for Desmond Bane, this team in the draft adds Jace Richardson and Noah Penda, who I think are 2 really good fits for what this team desperately needed in shooting, and also needed and likes with wing size. Alrighty, and the next 2 picks were by the Charlotte Hornets. They were contemplating trading up, trading down, deciding to do something, but unlike the first 2 teams that had 1 and 2, they decided to stick at 3 and 4, and they took Zion James, and they also took Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now, Ryan Kalkbrenner, I'll get into a little bit more because I do know a little bit more about him. Played at Creighton, and I went to Seton Hall, so I watched him play. He was a very solid big man for the Creighton Blue Jays. Really impactful rebounder, can be a really solid interior defender, and has a pretty decent jump shot as well. I really like this pick for the Charlotte Hornets, a team that lacked a lot of center versatility. This guy is going to be an absolute beast on the glass, helping them, but also on getting rebounds, something that they obviously lack now by trading away Mark Williams to Phoenix, but also kind of investing into that youth movement and getting a guy who I think is going to be a great culture pick as a someone that can score as a low post paint presence and just being a really key impact rim protector and shot blocker for this Charlotte Hornets team. Now, with Zion James, he went to Duke University alongside another draft pick from the Charlotte Hornets and Con Knippel, their first selection. So getting another teammate of Con Knippel is going to be very cool. He was one of those players in the draft that was viewed as a very high athlete, very, very solid and athletic player, but obviously has some, I guess, raw potential to where he maybe not be at his full peak form. That's why he kind of slipped to a second round pick. He's going to need some time to kind of grow, but going to a team in Charlotte where he's going to be playing with a teammate that he already played with all last season and started with, and having that chemistry, I think is going to be very nice for him to continue to grow in a nice young team in Charlotte, right? And Charlotte doesn't really have that, I guess, slashing all athletic player. Maybe Brandon Miller is like that, but getting another one in Zion James I think is going to be cool for them. So 2 second round selections for the Hornets, and they did very solid with them. The next selection was from the Philadelphia 76ers, and this one was Janiah Broome from Auburn. Now, he had slipped in some big boards compared to, obviously, before the draft combine, with his vert not being the greatest, and a lot of people think with him being an older center and him being a little bit of a slower footed center as well, they don't think that his offense game really is going to transition and he's not going to be able to kind of help out with this squad. But I think that he can be, if he can be a really solid defender for the Philadelphia 76ers, then they really struck gold here with this pick. Obviously, we'll see if he's going to be on the main roster and all depending on what this team, is going to be looking like going into the season. But with Joel Embiid potentially, having some injuries throughout the season, we'll see if they have Andre Drummond. Having some insurance in there with Janiah Broome could be very key with another impactful defender for this squad. Pick 36, the pick that the Nets originally traded to the Timberwolves. Timberwolves then traded that pick to the Los Angeles Lakers, and they took Adu Thero from Arkansas. Once again, another really interesting wing prospect that a lot of people were pretty high on. He was kind of maybe near the end of the first round, early second round. Once again, he falls to pick 36, and I think that he is going to just be another young, athletic, fun piece for the Los Angeles Lakers to really invest in. Number 37 was the Detroit Pistons. They kept their pick, and they took Chaz Lanier from Tennessee. A little bit of a scorer. Really interesting to see Detroit really strike with that pick, getting some more offensive and three-point shooting alongside a guy in Cade Cunningham, which is definitely a key because you saw that success with guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, even Jaden Ivey. And that's going to be kind of key to see what the Detroit Pistons really do to kind of with their free agents, and if a guy like Chaz Lanier or Jaden Ivey really do pop off, or even another guy like Marcus Sasser that they do have a first-round selection from a couple seasons ago, then we could maybe see one of those guys get traded if they do come back. Pick 38 from the San Antonio Spurs. They got Cam Jones from Marquette, and I already gave the Spurs like a really good grade yesterday with selecting Dylan Harper and then getting Carter Bryant at 14 and not trading out and sticking to their youth movement. And Cam Jones is another home run pick for this team. At Marquette 2 years ago when he played with Tyler Kolek and played with Oso Ighodaro, he was an absolute beast in that run with in the March Madness tournament and was so much better being able to play off the ball with a guy like Tyler Kolek commanding the offense and being that offensive initiator, right? Coming off the dribble, being a catch-and-shoot scorer, being that additional extra threat alongside of him on the perimeter was his specialty. With him staying and going back to Marquette and those guys leaving, he had a more prominent role of being an on-ball creator and having to create an offense, and that limited his potential to really strive this year, right, with Marquette. And I think getting added to a team in San Antonio where they have De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, they just had Chris Paul. Who knows what other free agents they have? Victor Wembanyama is going to be passing out of the post. This is going to be an absolute home run of a pick, and he already had a lot of people keeping their eyes on him, and I think this year alone kind of maybe dropped his stock because he didn't look the greatest, but I think this is going to be one of those picks when we look back that it's just like, wow, the Spurs nailed this one, and they really nailed this draft this year. Next from the Raptors was Elijah Martin. He is from the Florida Gators, played with Walter Clayton Jr., and was on the championship winning team from the tournament this year. I don't know much about him this. I'm sorry, I have to apologize about that. I have to do some more research on him. Micah Peavy was the Hornets pick. Once again, I don't know much about him as well. And then pick 41 was the Suns pick that they traded from the Warriors. They sent 52 and 59 for them for when they were doing their fiascos to move up and try to get to 31. They took Kobe Bryant from Kentucky, one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter in this draft class. The only problem with him being is just a little bit older of a guard. With him going to Kentucky and going to now Phoenix to learn under Booker, I'm very confident that this is going to be a good pick for the Phoenix Suns. Who knows necessarily if he's going to be a two-way contract, if he's going to be an immediate plug-in guy on the roster, but I'm sure he's going to be getting some great mentor leadership. And for the Suns, once again, they have a lot of shooting guards. A lot of people are going to question these moves, but they're eventually going to be doing some other things. So I really like what they're deciding to do and taking one of the better players available in Kobe Bryant here at pick 41. At pick 42, we have Maxime Reynaud from Stanford going to the Sacramento Kings. And I don't know how Maxime Reynaud fell to 42. If there was one player that ultimately shocked me that fell all the way down, it was Maxime Reynaud. And there were obviously some people that were a little bit higher on him because they watched his film and the combine. Obviously, he really excelled playing against some top-tier players or higher draft prospects, guys at the combine that were in the draft. And a lot of the quarrels with his game was he went to Stanford and the competition wasn't that great. But maybe that's what held him back. I don't know. I think for the Kings, a team that needed center, and once again, we'll get into winners and losers of the draft tomorrow in a future video. I think they absolutely struck gold here with a guy, Maxime Reynaud. I think he is going to be a solid paint beast for them, down low as a rim protector and shot blocker, something that they need and could use coming off the bench along for Domantas Sabonis, something that they've lacked. But also, he can stretch out the floor, he can shoot the ball, and that can be very complementary alongside a piece that they could potentially get if they move Keegan Murray to the 3 and what is a shot protecting rebounding 4, which is, I think, definitely something that a team like the Sacramento Kings should keep an eye on. So Maxime Reynaud, I think a lot of people had him potentially even going in the first round, mid-first round, around 20s. Maybe some people had him in the late 20s. I had him particularly late 20s, maybe even mid. He fell all the way to pick 42. A great pickup for the Sacramento Kings. So I just paused the video so I could try to figure out if any of these guys got traded for their pick, and it doesn't look like it. So we're going to dive in, and we're going to go over who got picked next. So Jameer Watkins went to the Wizards. I've just looked up when trying to figure it out, so I did find out he's a good defensive guard, something that the Wizards could definitely add and use alongside a playmaker in Bub Carrington and a offensive firepower that they got in Trey Johnson. I'm very intrigued to see what a team like the Washington Wizards does bring out in the next couple of seasons, because I think with a couple of their trades, getting rid of the Jordan Poole contract and taking some out of these veteran expiring contracts is good, not only for flexibility for teams that might want them around the trade deadline, but also for kind of just getting some good level-headed veterans and leadership in the locker room to build up this young core, specifically guys that, aren't maybe, high-flying number 1, number 2 overall picks. I know Alex Star was number 2, but I think that's going to be key for a team like the Wizards to really grow. So I really like that. And Jameer Watkins, I have to do some more research, but that's a good pick for them for what they need. The next from the Thunder was Brooks Barhinzer. I don't really know who he is. I'll have to figure out some more information on him. The Bulls, apparently, but it's not the Bulls. It is the Timberwolves, because the Lakers traded for this pick, and then they traded for the Timberwolves when they swapped. Yeah, whatever. It's the Timberwolves. Rocco Zakarski, I think it is. He's Australian big, and the Timberwolves in this draft went 2 big men, which makes sense. They have some questions around Julius Randle with his player option, Naz Reid with his player option, Rudy Gobert making a big salary, and from the reports of them being interested in Kevin Durant, they were offering that contract. So drafting Joe Berenjay at pick 17, and now taking Rocco Zakarski at pick 46 or 45. That kind of tells me that a team like the Timberwolves are anticipating that maybe some front court depth is going to be getting lost, maybe not this season, but in the future, if not this season. I said that wrong. Anyways, The next pick, which was the Orlando Magic, but is not, it was the Celtics, because remember, they traded for that 32 overall pick for Noah Penda. They gave him 46. Yep, that's right, from 14 minutes ago when I said it. Amari Williams, Kentucky big, and he is viewed as one of the better passing bigs, pretty solid screener. I know my boy Nick NBA over on YouTube talked about him as he could be a potential Isaiah Hartenstein type big if that's like his true peak. So if you can kind of picture that if that's what he can really truly be, then that's a great solid piece for the Celtics. Adding him a 23-year-old, specifically with them having some uncertainty with their big man group, obviously with Al Horford and Luke Cornett being free agents and them trading Kristaps Porzingis, there is really some need for a center. Obviously, they didn't strike and get any of the guys that I thought they were going to get, potentially maybe in the first round or anything like that, but they got a guy in Amari Williams, who I think will be a solid addition for this squad. Now, I'm probably going to butcher this name, so I am sorry if I do, but the Bucks at pick 47 apparently had Giannis watching this pick for I don't know what reason, because it was their only pick in the draft, and they took Bogolub Markovic. Once again, I don't really know who he is, but from the pronunciation of his name, you can probably pronounce he's a guy from the EuroLeague or played overseas. And for the Bucks, this is probably keeping Giannis happy, drafting a guy that he probably has some expertise on or thinks can be a good addition. Once again, the Bucks going into the second apron and losing some big contract players and not really having flexibility, and Dame being injured, we're going to be in a tough scenario. And if Giannis does stay, which all signs at as of recording at 1:09 a.m. on June 27th, is that he's going to be staying at this moment, you need to try to bring in as many assets as you can that can help in the moment. So if he feels confident in this Markovic guy that he can maybe be an impact player in the future, if not this season, on the low value, and that's what you have to do if you're the Bucks ownership. Alrighty, and then with the 48th pick, we have the Grizzlies with getting Javon Small. I saw he played at West Virginia. I don't know much about Javon Small, but I do believe that he is a point guard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the Memphis Grizzlies, finding that point guard depth, they obviously have Scottie Pippen and John Morant, but it's definitely key for them to kind of hit on that market. And for a team that has hit on so many second-round picks, right, getting guys like Jay Huff, and undrafted guys like Jay Huff, Scottie Pippen Jr. himself, off the other markets, Vince Williams, G.G. Jackson, all those types of players, I trust their front office in drafting. So if Javon Small proves me wrong for not knowing who he is as of recording, then I would expect that to happen. 49, we had Tyrese Proctor, who is from the Duke University, played alongside, once again, all those other great players from Duke that got drafted this year. Really solid point guard, can play a combo 1-2, played both of them in college, 6'5". When I hear this draft pick, the main thing that comes to me is he's going to be the Ty Jerome replacement. And that is for the case that the Cavs are above into the second apron once the new year comes in, and when they get into free agency, they're not going to have the money to keep Ty Jerome. He was a key, vital piece, and they need another backup guard. It's always been known that the Cavs have been so dominant, even with having Garland and Mitchell kind of be both kind of point guards, having a key secondary point guard to run with the second unit. And they had that with Rubio. They lost that when he retired, unfortunately. And now they filled it with Ty Jerome. Now they're going to lose that because of money. So filling it with Tyrese Proctor, a guy who was also a 4 or 5 year player coming into the league at 23. He's going to be ready to go and kind of make that impact. And I think he can maybe not obviously step up and deliver at the effect of Ty Jerome can, but can show you flashes of what that potential could be of him being a Ty Jerome-esque player for you running your secondary unit. Then we have pick 50, Kobe Sanders, made by the Knicks, but not traded to the Clippers. They traded it for Mohamed Diarra, who was pick 51. I don't know much about Mohamed Diarra. I'm sorry. Kobe Sanders, I also don't know much about, but he got drafted by the Clippers. Then the Warriors picked Alex Tui. I don't know much about him. The Jazz picked John Tanji. I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. Don't know much about him. Pacers got Talon Peter. I don't know much about him. Alrighty, and then we found the last couple picks here. Finally found one that has it with the right kind of team name. So, like I mentioned, Talon Peter, 54 to the Pacers. Then we had Lachlan Ulbrich to the Bulls. We got the Warriors getting Will Richard. The Celtics getting Max Shulga. The Cavs getting Saluyu Niang. And the Grizzlies, with the final overall pick in the 59th, getting Jami Moschak. So, really interesting draft. I feel like with a lot of these later guys, usually they're two-way contracts for the start of their career, right? First year, similar to some of those undrafted guys, and they compete in training camp. Maybe they do earn a guaranteed roster spot by the end of the year after the summer league. Maybe they do earn that two-way spot, but or maybe they even get waived or traded. There's a lot of things to keep an eye on moving. A lot of these guys in the second round are undrafted, kind of just compete and stuff like that. So something to keep an eye on revolving around your team. Like I said, a lot of guys fell into the second round. A lot of people, not many people, but 5 or 6 people that thought they could go in the first round. So that was kind of cool to see in the early first part. Exciting to see teams moving around as well, like even before the draft. I know the Lakers and the Bulls made a trade even before I woke up. And then you had other moves flying in left and right. So very exciting to see what's going to be going down within the next couple of days here. Now that the draft is finally over, we can kind of get focused on into free agency and making some moves. Now we're going to be seeing teams with player options and team options coming into date with contract dates over the next couple of days. So as of recording, it is the 27th at 1 in the morning. So coming today, you'll definitely see some people declining player options, accepting player options, declining team options, teams picking up non-guaranteed deals or partially guaranteed deals or waiving them, vice versa, going into the next couple of days. And then you'll see teams being able to renegotiate contracts with their own free agents. You'll see teams signing some of their rookies to rookie extension deals and that jazz, giving them those guaranteed contracts. And then we'll be getting into the actual meat and bones, which is free agency. And Shams Charania has already alluded that it's going to be an active one. We've already seen at the draft and even before the draft, the whirlwind of moves kind of come flurrying in from all angles. And I do believe that in free agency, we will see the same. He did say that it's going to be a lot more sign-in trades compared to, obviously, free agency signings, just because there's only really one team that has cap space, which is the Brooklyn Nets. So that will be the intriguing thing to see. Obviously, last year, with it kind of being the new second apron and teams still trying to adjust with contracts and how their team's already currently constructed before the new CBA, it hasn't really leveled out yet. So we'll definitely keep that into mind on how free agency does get underway. But with the channel, just because the draft is now over, just because my off-season breakdowns are over, it doesn't mean that we're not going to stop dropping content. Like I said, we'll have the sleepers, or not the sleepers, but we'll have the winners, we'll have the losers, we'll have the teams that I think did really in the draft for videos for you. And then, like I mentioned, if any trades come through, if any other moves like free agency signings come through, I haven't really made videos on the extensions, but once free agency comes, we'll definitely take all the moves in one day, put them all in a big video, and just go over my thoughts. And then, yeah, very exciting time if you're an NBA fan for these next couple of days, even next couple of weeks, because once free agency does start on July 1st, who knows how rapidly it's really going to move, right? With teams particularly prioritizing signing trades, they're going to have to call their front offices, figure out deals, contact with the team, figure out if they can sign them, and that's just how it's going to work. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Once again, like I said, really do appreciate all your guys' support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your night or day, and peace out.